and she'll let you know about upcoming ones. But without further ado, I'll pass it over to Debbie Auer from Auer Design. She actually has 33 years of experience in design, so she comes with a lot of expertise in the field. She does residential projects, commercial projects. She's worked all over. I know she was based in Chicago for a while. So she's you're in for a treat. So without further ado, I'll pass it over to Debbie.
Well, thank you all for coming. It's a beautiful day, not like what we're supposed to get tomorrow. And if I make like any blunders, this is not my day job, it's public speaking. It's design, obviously. So, but I've got a lot of really great information. And if, you know, this is something I do every day. If I'm speaking about something that is not perfectly clear to you, just make a note of it and we'll get to it at the end. So our agenda today is we're going to have a brief introduction. What makes it important? We're going to talk about project scope, the different elements, the steps, and then we'll have a summary at the end. So having a budget simplifies the process. It gives you a better understanding of where you're allocating your funds. It helps determine where to compromise, possibly. It gives you a sense of confidence in making decisions because you know where you're spending and you have a plan for it. It sets parameters for the process and the design direction, and it will help you improve communication with the team. So you want to I think it's important to make a list of what you like and don't like about your current kitchen. So there's the pros and the cons. Now, you may not have any pros. You may not like anything about your current kitchen, and that's okay. But at least you know some aspects of what you're dealing with. The other thing is a list of tools and supplies that you currently have in your kitchen. Know what you want to have out on your countertops. Some people like to keep it really clean. Some people have certain pieces of equipment that they use every day, like a blender, that they might want to have a specific location for it. So that's really good to know. And it will help you identify your storage needs. Okay. Understanding the types of project scope. There are 3 different types of project scope. There's remove and replace, renovation, and reinvention. And I'm going to go through those. So basically, remove and replace is basically what it says. You're going to either remove the existing cabinets because the layout is fine for you, or maybe you've got constraints and that's all you want to deal with, or you're refacing your cabinetry and doing new appliances possibly, or keeping your existing ones, maybe a new countertop, sink and faucet, pretty basic. You will not need necessarily a contractor to do this project, but you will need a carpenter. This is a project showing remove and replace. So basically, this existing floor on the left-hand side was installed the old-fashioned way with the lathe system. So there's a metal mesh underneath it's attached to the plywood flooring, and then they pour the concrete, and then they install the ceramic tile. It's very difficult to remove it. It can be done, but you have to take the cabinetry out as well. So this particular client didn't want to go through that phase at all. And so we kept the existing cabinetry. We painted it. We did some minor things to the island. They put in all new appliances, monogram. They wanted to upgrade. And we put in a backsplash. We did under counter lighting. And we put in some pendant lighting as well. So, and we, instead of replacing the tile, as I was speaking about, we put in carpet tiles over the existing tile, just to give it a different look. And carpet tiles are a great material because they're squares. If you spill something on them, you can pull it up, you can hose it off, and you can replace it. This is a renovation. So renovation is going to be more where you can add an island, change out the cabinetry, maybe change some walls. You will need a contractor for this type of project and probably a designer. It gives you the opportunity to update wiring and plumbing, all those types of things. So here are some before pictures of an existing kitchen that we did just recently. And the client, there wasn't enough storage in this kitchen, as you can see. There's not a pantry. The right side is the bar, which was in the family room. A very small refrigeration, no pantry, very little storage. And the work area right over here was very crammed. You've got your microwave here, your cooktop, and your double oven. So it's very tight. So those were the problems that we needed to solve for this client. And this is what we did. So we removed we cleaned this whole area up. This is now your oven and your cooktop. We have ventilation here. It didn't vent out to the outside, so we accommodated for that as well. Because with certain ranges, you need a certain BTU for the exhaust. And then over here, you can't see, but we put in a microwave drawer. And this area here, this is all pantry. And then there's a little area for the dog. And right here is where we relocated the refrigeration. And it's panel ready, full-sized refrigeration and freezer. And then this is the bar area. We redid that. We kind of cleaned it up and made it just a little bit nicer. I'll go back, to the bar. It was kind of ordinary. So reinvention is really basically, it's a free range, completely gutting, completely changing everything. You may be expanding into an existing space that's not well utilized, or you're adding on an addition. This photograph here is showing a very tight, crammed kitchen. So these particular people expanded out to their side yard. They put in these sliding glass walls. This is not my project, by the way. But it does show you they added a skylight, what the possibilities are for a type of project like this. The elements. So we've got appliances, cabinets, hard surfaces, hardware, plumbing, and lighting, and then a designer and a contractor. So when you break this down, the appliances, you've got built-in, panel ready, and smart technology. Cabinets, framed versus frameless. Standard overlay cabinetry. If you know anything about cabinet construction, you've got your cabinet box, and then standard overlay is the drawers and doors are proud of the box, cabinet box. So standard overlay, you will have a 3/4 inch gap between the 2 drawers or doors. Full overlay, you only have a 1/4 inch in that same type of condition. And then inset, the drawers and doors are flush with the cabinet box. Then your hard surfaces are your flooring, your countertops, backsplash, and walls and ceiling. And what I mean by walls and ceiling is you're going to apply something to them, whether that be a new paint color, could be wall covering. And again, the ceiling, you're probably going to paint that as well too. And then we have your hardware, plumbing, and lighting. Cabinet hardware is a consideration. Your faucets, you've got your sink faucet, you might have a beverage faucet, a pot filler. Then you've got under cabinet lighting, general lighting, island pendants, recessed fixtures, and possibly another pendant over your dining table. And designer and contractor, well, they're kind of your best friends because they really will help you guide through the whole process. Yes. Yeah, sure. So other things to take under consideration when you're putting your list together of your wants and desires. Do you need a snack zone? Do you need a kids drop-off zone? A coffee station? A charging station? Work desk area? Message board? And are you a serious cook? Do you need a prep counter? A spice storage? Pantry zone, like my client who didn't have a pantry. Pots and pan storage. How many pots and pans do you have? And how big are they? And small appliance storage. And if you're a serious baker, where's your baking station? And your mixer shelf? Bread making area. It could be completely separate. And your bakeware storage. Is everybody okay? Should we go to the next slide? Okay, and don't forget the small stuff. I do this every day and I forgot the junk drawer. Everybody needs a junk drawer in their kitchen. And again, just what about trash and recycling? It's nice to not have that just sitting out. If you can incorporate that into your cabinetry, you'll be a lot happier. It just makes for a cleaner environment. And your cutting boards. That's another important aspect of everyday cooking. Where are they going to go? And a dish towel. Where are you locating that? And you can always inject your own personality into small things like a lighting fixture that can be easily replaced in the future by someone who possibly buys your house. Okay, so this is how I put together a budget. Know what your home value is, because that's what we're going to base the renovation cost of your kitchen. And I typically use 15%. So that'll give you your budget. So here we've got $86,000 for your budget. And this is how I break it down. Your cabinets, there's three parts of this renovation project that is going to be your most expensive. One is going to be the cabinetry. 2 is going to be your labor and installation, your contractor and designer. And countertops. No, not countertops, appliances. Those are the 3 biggest ticket items that you're going to be spending your money on. So it helps to do a lot of research on the appliances. And don't be afraid when you are selecting your appliances not to go with one brand. Choose the items that work and will perform the best for what you're looking to do. I mean, it's tempting sometimes because they do have appliance packages, but don't feel that that is absolutely the way to go. Make smart choices in selecting your appliances because you're going to be spending most of your money on them. And then the other thing that is important is to leave a contingency, because there's always something like when the contractor is getting into the walls to replace something, they always find something that they didn't discover. So it's good to put aside a little bit of money for a contingency. And I usually use about 3%. Is everybody still writing? Okay, that's fine. And, once you finalize your cabinetry and your appliances, and you have your contractor and you really know what those costs are, then you can kind of fudge around with the rest. But these are just basic guidelines. You may need to scale back on what you're spending on your backsplash or, your plumbing fixtures. But the three most important things that you're going to be making big decisions on are those three elements: the cabinets, the contractor, and your appliances. Sure.
What do you think is the biggest bang for the client's book?
I would say the cabinetry. Because it's pretty permanent. The appliances, again, if you sell your house and somebody doesn't like them, they can easily replace those because they just pull out. And can I make just one more comment about the cabinetry? No more white kitchens. They're totally out. And you can do glazes on your cabinets, but I wouldn't waste the money. It usually costs another 20%, and it becomes very dated quickly.
So where do you get the percentages from? Just from experience?
Yeah. I typically like to start with these percentages. And then, like I said, you can kind of fudge it around a little bit because it depends, there's all different door styles. The least expensive door style is going to be a flat panel or a shaker style. But if your house is really traditional and you want something with a little bit more detail, your cabinet price is going to go up a little bit. So that's where I say you kind of start with these percentages and you can kind of move things around a little bit if you need to.
Question over there? So white kitchens are out. What's in?
Wood. Wood has always been in. Now you'll see in magazines, you'll see a lot of painted two-tone kitchens. They might do a lower color and another color above. But in the end of the day, those are all trends. If you want something to last for a while and really get your money out of it, I would suggest only doing something more creative on the island, because that's something, again, if somebody doesn't like it, they can replace that pretty easily. All right, so the client that I showed you the project with the black kitchen, this is the budget I put together for him. And he didn't like all the options at $30 square foot price for the backsplash. And so that's what basically changed in this budget. Does anybody want me to go on yet?
What kind of backflow you're in right now?
I can go back.
Tiles?
It's this right here. It's a metal tile.
The stainless steel?
Yeah, kind of, but it's got a gold finish on it, which, you can barely see it here, but this is a Brizo faucet and it's got a two-tone finish. So it's got the gold here and on the handle. So it's sort of, and we did the same thing with the cabinet hardware. It's hard to see in this picture, but it's black and the knurled gold finish to match the faucet. Yes. And so there were some extras in this project. We originally designed this kitchen not to have an island. And the client, when we were demoing, I want to say, decided that he wanted an island. So we went ahead and ordered that. So the project sort of went on hold a little bit. And when we removed the existing island, we had to remove some electrical that was in the island, and we took down that wall. So there wasn't any tile underneath there. We weren't sure until we got it demoed if there was tile underneath there. So I had to go and find the tile. The color didn't match perfectly, but we did find the exact same material. So that was an extra. We hadn't figured on having to remove and install that tile, so that was an extra. We needed some additional cabinet trim. And then the water purification system, that was additional. And then there were some additional plumbing parts. So that was, again, that was our contingency. So the total project was $124,000.
What kind of flooring was in that?
That house, it's down in Detroit and it doesn't have a basement because it's very close to the water. So it was a porcelain tile, 24 by 24. Throughout the first floor. So there wasn't any way that we were going to rip out that floor because that would have meant replacing the entire first floor. And then what I put down here is these were the delivery dates, the beginning of last year. So some of these have changed a little bit. So we've got, cabinets at 16 to 20 weeks. I'm sure that's changed now. And appliances are still a little bit, but not quite as bad. Now, we didn't replace the dishwasher in that kitchen because it was 16 to 18 weeks. So again, he just used this existing dishwasher and, he could have replaced it at a future date. But he only got to enjoy this kitchen for 3 months because he got transferred. Which happens. Tile, depending on what you pick, can be in stock or 2-week lead time or anywhere from 6 to 10 weeks. Really depends on what you pick. So these are just things to keep into consideration when you're deciding to go ahead with your project. And it's kind of a good thing that cabinets aren't available in 2 weeks. I'm sure there are, but if you're really planning a nice kitchen, you're going to have some lead times, and it's a good thing because in my handout are all the things you need to think about before you start your project. Where are they going to store the cabinets when they come? They need to be on site, and every little piece is in a box. So you need to have a place for that, and you have to clean out all your cabinets and decide what you're going to do with those existing cabinets. Can you donate them? Sometimes it takes a while to find somebody to take them. But it's worth investigating if you can, because there's enough stuff that goes to the dump. And the same type of putting together a budget you can use for other types of projects too. Bathroom renovations. Now, you're not going to use 15% probably for a bath renovation or a laundry room because it's not as comprehensive. So you could use a smaller percentage. But here's like, oops, I keep doing that. This is an existing bathroom, and this was the renovation. Now, this was the most expensive part here, and the tub filler. Those are the two most expensive things in a bathroom renovation. If you want to do a tubs, and the original tub she wanted was twice as much as this one. So I did a whole lot of research and found her one that was half the price, but the same, pretty similar look. So a lot of times it's really helpful to have your ideas that you can communicate to your design team, because when you get to the budget and like, oh, wow, that's more than I want to spend on that tub. Your team can help you find a good solution that you'll still be happy with. So we're going to summarize here. Know how much your house is worth. And there's lots of ways you can find that out. You can go on Zillow. Most of you guys probably know somebody who's a realtor. Have them pull some comps in your neighborhood. And the reason why it's important is because you don't want to overspend and not be able to get your return of investment out of your renovation project. Know what your scope is. What do you want to do? Do you want to completely disrupt your family for months, a couple months? So you may want to just reface and replace. Or do you want to really reinvent? Or do you want to be in between? It's really helpful to make all these considerations. And do your research on your cabinets, your fixtures, and your appliances. And start interviewing your contractor and design team. And hire the people that you feel you can trust, because they're going to be spending a lot of time with you. And, be really honest with yourself on how much you truly want to spend. And I want to thank you all for being here. And we'll take questions. And my information, I do have business cards up here too, if you want one. We are giving away, if you put together your budget and you want us to review it, we're going to give away five 1-hour sessions. And I will review it with you and help you make some more sense out of it, where you could possibly make some changes that would impact your budget. And also, if you feel like you just can't quite do it yourself, I would be happy to give you a 10-hour consultation. And there's a fee for that, $2,500. And that includes coming out, speaking to you, what you want to do, putting together a layout and some preliminary selections just to get the budget going. And then meeting with you and discussing the budget. Questions?
Question about, you talk about, because this is the first time I'm doing this, interviewing like designers and contractors, like what kind of things should you be asking to know that, okay, this one's better than that one?
Well, I would suggest looking at their websites, asking them for clients that you could talk to and find out how they felt about that experience. There's nothing wrong with that. There's all kinds of ways you can research people, Better Business Bureau. There's lots of things you can find out.
I have a question. So when I had bathrooms done, I ended up having, I guess you'd say it was gutted, and the flooring was new tile, and we put the tile all over the floor and then the cabinets on top. In the kitchen, you don't usually do that, right?
Yes, you do.
Or you do?
Yeah.
Oh.
Absolutely.
All right.
And the reason why you do that is because if you were to change it out again, you may want to keep that floor. But it's sort of a standard practice to do it underneath the cabinetry.
What's the timeless species of wood that you would suggest?
Well, I like to use oak, but I like to use a very straight grained oak. So you don't get a lot of figuring.
Is that quarter sign?
Yes. And maple is a good one too. It doesn't have a lot of figuring. A lot of people don't like heavily figured wood. It's good on certain things, but cabinetry, it's just so much.
Put in can lighting, does that require ripping out the ceiling?
No, it does not. The electrician just cuts a hole in the drywall ceiling and he'll fish his lines from somewhere else that's existing and he'll put in the can. And a recess can will cost, including the labor, about between 175 to 195, depending on the electrician.
Again?
Yes.
And are there like high-end refacers? Or, you know, I mean, you can go to Costco and get a refacing.
Yes, there are people who do, there are companies that do refacing cabinetry. Like that's all they do.
But are they like high-end? Would they give you really high-end cabinets for labor?
I haven't done a lot of research on that, but I would believe there's different levels, just like there are different levels of cabinetry.
I know at Wolverine in the Resource Center, they mentioned one time, it's also, if you're refacing, just consider once you have it, it's more like that, stock stuff, sometimes it's not even worth refacing. But if you have like the quality inserts where you can tell it's like the real wood, then it is worth refacing.
If you have a quality box.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And and at that point, if you're happy with the basic layout of your kitchen, I mean, it's the least disruptive.
Do you ever mix door styles, your island from the rest of the kitchen?
I have not personally done that, but it's not much different than do it in a different color, so I don't see why you couldn't. Yes.
So if, say somebody wanted to work with a designer from here, do you, because I know one of the big issues you say in terms of contractors is trust. I know in some areas I found some people, but that's the big hurdle is always trust in terms of getting things done well and the way you want it. So is that something you guys do? You have all these people that you
We have people that we use on a regular basis that we trust. It's our reputation. So we want to be surrounded by people that we can depend on. But, when you're interviewing people, at the end of the day, you have to be happy with them and how they respond to you. And a lot of times it's a gut feeling. You'll know if you're going to be hooked up with this person for several months to maybe a year, depending on what type of project it is. Yes.
What has been your experience on how the time process here? How long does it take, like the complete renovation that you did, that you showed the time when it's on?
That was, well, from when we started the demo until it was completed, that was about 3 months. You really don't want to start your demo until pretty much everything is waiting. Like the appliances should be, like we used Whitbeck over on Orchard Lake, and the appliances sat in their warehouse until we were ready for them to come on site. The cabinets got delivered to the cabinet company, and then when we were ready to start the demo, they were delivered to the garage. So that's kind of how you don't really want to start, you don't want to drag it on any longer than it has to be. So that's kind of how you figure when you're going to start the project.
And do you have particular contractors that you like to work with, or you would suggest in a particular regional area to a customer?
Yeah, I do. And the ones that I like to use, they give me a schedule of when they're starting the demo, when the demo will be done, when the install and how long it's going to take to install the cabinets, all of the different trades that he's responsible for. He'll give me a timeline on that.
And is there, when you write this up, when you obviously you can pay for the design ahead of time, but when you accept the design and the contractor, how is the payment usually done on the completed process?
Well, all of my vendors usually require a 50% deposit, as well as the contractor. And then, like the appliances and the cabinetries, those all have to be paid in full before they're delivered. And the contractor usually may need a draw in between the initial payment and the final payment, but not always.
Is there ever a time limit written into the contract as you say it's going to be done in 3 months and I move out for 3 months? So I'm prepared to spend the money to live somewhere else while this kitchen is done. And then all of a sudden it becomes an override, there's an override, it's gonna take another month,
Well, that's I would have to say it's not how we like things to happen, but occasionally there may be some delay. But we try to minimize that. Like with this kitchen, one of the cabinets came in delivered. I mean, that one of the cabinets that was delivered was damaged, so we had to reorder it. Now, when that happens, the cabinet manufacturer puts that at the beginning of the line because you're trying to get a project completed. So, but that still involves a couple of weeks. The inspections.
I understand unintended consequences, but like when the person said after they saw the demolition, they wanted an island. So then you had to go do more work, find the supplier or whatever and get that.
Well, we use the same cabinet company, but again, because it was part of a kitchen that it was sort of part of the completion of that. So it got put to the front of the line rather than the 12 weeks lead time.
But I guess what I'm getting to, did the customer have to pay for the change order?
Yes. Yep. And he delayed the project. Yeah.
I mean, if it's not the customer's fault if the project gets delayed, outside of a snowstorm or COVID like we had,
Act of God, right.
is there any penalty written into the contract for the contractor?
You could. I mean, absolutely, you could write something in there. Sure. Yeah.
If you were kind of doing a redo with, taking out cabinets and maybe adding some electric and things. Is there a particular sequence like demo first, electric, or where does the flooring come in?
Well, you would be demoing first. Flooring. And the cabinetry and electrical could be done at the same time as the flooring. But all the pretty stuff happens at the end. You know, the electrician is gonna come back maybe 1 or 2 times, especially if you've got pendant fixtures, decorative fixtures. Those want to go in at the very end with the countertops, and the plumber probably is a two trip job as well. Cause he'll do his rough in, and then he'll come back to put the actual fixtures in.
Do you use certain cabinet companies?
No, kind of depends on the project and the budget. So there's so many cabinet companies out there, oh my God. And they usually have within their more than one type or price point within their realm of cabinets.
Are you finding that, like now there's a delay time in starting a project? I know.
Oh, yeah.
Last year,
Oh, absolutely.
They said they were down here.
I had a client who wanted a custom bar, actually on wheels for their house. I could not get anyone here locally to make it. I had to have it made in Chicago. I called up one of my mill workers in Chicago, and he's like, sure, I can do it. So I had to get a guy to deliver it here to West Bloomfield, but it was better than waiting. And there were some guys who didn't even want to touch it. So yeah, there is a delay. There's just not enough contractors anymore. You know, during the recession, when the housing boom happened in the 2008, a lot of these trades left and didn't come back. So there is totally a shortage of tradespeople. So that's another thing that once you find your contractor, he's going to tell you when he can start the job. And that's going to tell you when we need to order everything. Because again, you know, there are limitations on how long the appliance company is going to hold on to your appliances in their warehouse, because they've got jobs coming and going all the time. But they usually will accommodate, you know, a couple weeks.
Other appliances are in and out.
Well, I'm a big fan of panel ready. So we're matching the cabinets to those panels. And, you know, you can't go wrong with stainless steel. I personally don't like to look at all that, especially in a refrigerator. So that's why I like to use the panel ready. But again, it's personal preference, 100%.
You were talking about the breakdown earlier of the percentages. Was the contractors be included in like the labor and install, or what percentage of a design project should you include for the contractor if you're doing the latter?
This includes the contractor, because he's the labor. And
I just want to make sure it wasn't some addition.
No, but also included in that installation cost is the cost for installing your appliances. Because that's a separate guy. Because the appliance companies, they don't do installs.
Your design fees would be not in that scope of pricing.
It could very well be.
And is that the breakdown that you should get from a contractor? Like specifically the cabinets, the plumbing, the countertops?
Well,
Or will they just give you one big lump of this is how much it's gonna cost?
Well, a contractor probably isn't gonna order all those things for you. He might order the plumbing. And the electrical, but he may not wanna do all those.
Okay. But if you are, they should give you some kind of breakdown.
Some kind of breakdown. You know, with my experience, if they just give you a lump sum, I don't think I would be hiring them. That's not very transparent. You know, you want to know where your money's going and you're entitled to that. So, I mean, if they do give you just a lump sum, I would ask them to break it down. How much are my cabinets? You know, because that's going to kind of give you an indication of the quality you're getting. And, you know, you have certain expectations. You know, what if they deliver like, where is it? Oops. These cabinets, when we started doing the demo, and this was not an inexpensive house, they were knocked down. They were assembled. All the sidewalls and the interior of the cabinets, they were all assembled on site. That is not a quality cabinet. So we didn't really know that until we started the demo, but it was kind of surprising.
And are great cabinets in?
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you wanted gray, it would be like a painted or a.
Well, there are stains.
There.
Yeah, there are some stains that you can get a grayish look. Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions? Yes.
So you talk about the percentage of home value.
Mhm.
You also do like a per square foot. Its kitchen size is very systematic.
Well, I think it's still, this method is still the best because if your kitchen is a big kitchen, your home value is probably bigger. But I don't do it by the square foot. I think this is better way. Personally. You know, I was doing some research. I was asking some of my cabinet friends, well, in case you guys ask, like, how much can you figure per square foot for your cabinetry? He's like, it's just, there's too many variables. I can't really break it down for you like that. He said, I can break down the countertop material. You know, that could be anywhere from 60 to 120 a square foot. But he just couldn't, he said, there's too many variables. What type, what construction?
What's in the countertops?
Most people are choosing quartzite, some type of quartzite or solid surface. There are still some people who are putting in granite. We have some people who will still do a marble on their island, but the work area is a quartzite. It's not as fragile. I mean, it still has, you still need to respect it as a material because it is made from ground stone. So, you know, they're really, the only thing that is totally foolproof, or it's not even really 100% non-destructive, is laminate. But laminate still scratch. I mean, stainless steel scratches. So we have to respect the materials that you include in your home.
What did you say you still need to do with the quartz?
It's still certain ways of maintaining it. I mean, it's not, if you put a hot pan on it, it's not going to destroy, but it could. in some instances. So you need to know which manufacturer that you're selecting from and what cleaning their suggestions are, what it really says, how you can use, what you can put on the surface, things like that.
You don't need to seal it periodically.
No,
Do you see open shelving being a trend over wall cabinets?
some people like that look. It just depends. Again, when you're doing your, what did I call it? Supplies, tools. Do you want to see all your dishes? Do you want to dust them? I mean, there's just lots of things to think about. I like to use some shelves as an accent, but those are things to consider. If you are putting all your dishware and glasses on shelves, open shelves, you're cooking there. There's grease and flying little particles in the air, and that's going to get all on your dishes. So it's just lots of things to think about. It's all those little small minutia details that it helps to really sit down and analyze what you want to do. What look do you want? I encourage you to look through magazines and, get ideas. You can incorporate lots of different ideas that you see in different people's kitchens. But again, analyze it. Think about does it fit your everyday life, your lifestyle? I had a friend out in California that she did open shelves. And she lives in California. Earthquakes. And she's a designer. But, that's the look she wanted. But what she puts on those shelves are things that are not her good crystal. Those are in a cabinet, but they can still get broken. So, yeah, lots of things to consider.
Do any, surfaces, I'm thinking of countertops, but it could apply to cabinets too, that limit design because of the size you could there's certain, it's only manufactured in certain widths or depths or lengths.
Well, that's pretty much the same all over, whether you use quartzite, marble, stone, laminate, stainless steel, wood. Any of those things are going to come in size ranges. Now there are some quartzites that come in 2 different sizes. Marbles come in different sizes. Depends on what type it is, where it's quarried. So sometimes, that's why when I do small bathrooms, I usually try to help my customers with using remnants, because there's lots of big kitchen jobs that require so many slabs. And if there's something left over, you've already paid for that. So either you use it somewhere else or they're going to take it away and they're going to resell it. But I mean, if you look at most kitchens, there's a seam somewhere on that counter. If it's a big space.
What about weight as far as countertop goes? Because the only thing that I see that has any, that's really, that does, the weight isn't a problem is laminate.
Well, we've not had to do any special reinforcement to cabinetry to put quartzite or marble or granite on. Because there's more than one box. So the weight is distributed on all of those different boxes.
I was just thinking of something that maybe you wanted movable. I mean, an island, I'm thinking maybe an island you'd want to be movable so you could move it to the side or make it
Well, now you're kind of talking about a custom piece of millwork. So actually, it's interesting that you said that because I just saw someone sent me an example of a top, a pretty thick top that pulled out from the island and made a table. So that was pretty interesting, but that's a pretty custom piece. And once it pulls up, you have to leave a lot of clearance to be able to have that table top pull out to seat, 6, 8 people. So you've got a lot of square footage that on a daily basis isn't really being used. So that's, something else to consider.
How did they build that? Because I was thinking of something small like that too. Did it make the countertop higher or thicker and you pulled it out below the countertop?
It pulled out below the countertop on the island so that it would be at a dining height.
Okay. And it was, so did it make that counter taller?
No, it didn't,
So you shortened. the
because
floor?
an island is gonna be at 36 and your dining height is 30.
And what material was it that they pulled out?
It was wood,
It was
solid piece of wood.
like the old breadboards kind of thing.
Same kind of concept, but it was much thicker. I want to say it was like 2.5 inches. And then it was counterbalanced somehow inside the cabinet. It only pulled out so far.
If you have a 6-foot island with a 12-inch overhang, that overhang does not require support. Up to 12 inches, is that correct?
You could push it a little bit more.
If a sink is cut out in that island, does that change it?
No.
It doesn't.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Well, thank you all for coming. It was a pleasure. And good luck with your projects.